The Fujicast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Kev, we were supposed to be meeting up. This was our moment of present exchange, cards and all that sort of stuff. And again, we've not managed it, Kev, because you've got lurgy. You've got what I'm thinking is the Malmesbury plague has arrived with you. We should ring fence your town because half the school have got it, Kev. Quick!
Is proper ill.
Paint crosses on the doors. Albie's not too well, bless him. What's the matter, Kev? What's
We've all got the horrible lurgy.
What's occurring, as you would say?
Albie brought it home from school, gave it to Gemma. Oh. Gemma gave it to me.
Yeah,
and that's how it works out, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, we were everything has a silver lining, doesn't it? So we were meant to be going to have a big 15-person family Christmas dinner on Sunday last week.
Yes, you were.
But Storm, whatever it was called, put a scupper to that because Severn Bridge was closed, and actually the place we were gone for the restaurant couldn't do it because they'd lost all their power for 28 hours. So luckily that didn't happen because I wouldn't want to be passing this on to my poor old dad and my mum. No. And sending it over the bridge to Wales. I mean, I don't care if people in Merthyr Tydfil get it, but the rest of Wales I care quite substantially for.
Kev, you could have been patient zero in Merthyr Tydfil, couldn't you?
The Fujicast.
Whose fault was it? It was Kev. He brought it across the bridge. Are you feeling a bit better? Those do sound a little bit better than what I was expecting. I was expecting a very grumpy Santa.
Yeah, I am better than I was, that's for sure. Yes, I think I had it the mildest out of the lot. I mean, poor Gemma and Albie, proper booted up the asshole with it.
What a lovely Welsh expression. Welcome to the Fujicast, the Christmas edition. It's the last one before Christmas, then we join you back in the new year. We got a couple of weeks off. So you and your questions to click at fujicast.co.uk or through the Facebook group, which Kev will wrestle with over the next few minutes. And we do have we have a bookity book as well, don't we, Kev? What have you got for us?
We've got. I wouldn't call it a book. I mean, technically, you'd call it a. No, I mean, I wouldn't even call it a zine, actually, although I suppose technically it is a zine. Anyway, it's a really interesting thing. It's called Lowa Block, and it's about football culture, and they seem to produce these little magazine-y type things, feature different photographers. So we'll get to it. It's been sent to us from Kenny Gordon in Glasgow. That gives you a clue somewhat to the football club that it's about. I think it's fascinating, actually, and a really good project. So we'll get to that shortly.
I love. Peter Dench did something about football. Kev, did you see Peter's book? I know you like Peter. Football's Hidden Story. You'd have liked this assignment. He travelled around the world telling the story about football. Went to many, many countries. This is a project you would have loved, Kev.
Yeah, I think I've got it, actually. I spoke to Peter quite a while ago about something. I don't think it was that project. I think it was his hens and stags and what have you.
Oh, yeah. I know that work of his as well.
Yes, I think I've got it.
in your library of books, Kev. Right, okay. Before we start, we should say thank you this year for all your support, Pick Time, who've been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Both myself and Kev use PicTime. It's the way that we show our pictures when we've been out on a job. It's the way I present my photographs and weddings these days. It's a great service. Your clients will love it because when you present your pictures, frankly, it looks like your website. It's not just a grid of pictures. You can decide which ones to make larger to champion some images. And of course, you can use it to sell albums, prints, frames. In fact, Kev, you've got it so automated, your clients are making their own albums, aren't they? They're designing their own albums through the interface.
Yeah, 100%. I'm trying to think now. The last time, obviously I don't shoot weddings anymore, but I'm trying to think the last time somebody did an album probably would have been the early, I only did 4 weddings this year, so definitely 1 this year. Probably the first wedding, I think.
Did you only do 4 this year? Was it really only 4 weddings?
4 weddings. It was my final 4. It was meant to be 0, but then,
you had 4.
He really wanted me. He really loved my
work. God. If only they'd have known what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
won't want me now
want
with
to
my
be
lurgy.
here. I want to be somewhere else. Oh dear, Kev.
So yeah, they did. And yeah, that was one of the parts of the old days that I really hated. And I know some people love this part, but like designing wedding albums, I used to think, oh my God, I'm not a book designer. That's not me. You know, I like to stick a bit of plastic in front of my eye and press a button. That's my skill. You know, I can't, do albums and books and what have you. So I hated that. And so I liked it when something came along that made me not have to do something I did not like anymore.
Yeah.
That was pick time.
It was perfect. So if you'd like to, in the new year, if you're thinking, right, I've got to a stage now where I've got enough work, I need to start showing my clients in a far more professional manner, then go to pick-time.com and on checkout, if you put the word Fujicast, upper or lowercase, as we found out in 2024, everything works, you get what, Kev?
You get a month free.
Yes. Perfect.
1 whole month, and I think that's a recurring 1 month. So I think you get that next year as well.
What's recurring? I'm trying. No, I know what recurring is, Kev. I'm trying to get my. I'm channeling my. I'm trying to get my Welshness out here. I'm loving we're watching all Gavin and Stacey before Christmas Day when the final Gavin and Stacey is on, and we find out what Smithy says to Ness. Because Nessa in the final one, which we watched just last night, actually, we have now done the complete box set, and she says, "Will you marry me?" And then it goes to da, 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 da. So we don't know the answer. We've been waiting years, Kev. The last Christmas
it's a
special.
well-kept secret, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is.
Been leaked.
No, nobody.
But I don't think it's not going to follow on. It's not going to be, the one on Christmas Day won't be them still lingering between answering that question. They will be. What is it? 9 years ago. So it will.
No. It was 2019 when they did the last one.
Okay, so what's that? 6 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
So so they will either be married, not married, or divorced.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, it's a great program.
It is. I love it.
Every time we go to Barry, I take the kids to Barry quite a bit when we're in Wales, and we drive up Trinity Street where it's filmed.
Yeah.
It's somebody's house. It's a real house, and they've got a picture of Gavin and Stacey on the window. And underneath it says, "Please remember this is our home. Stop staring through the windows."
Or knocking on the door. Can I come in and have a look around? Is it just like it is in the TV show? No, it's not. That bit's a studio.
Yeah.
I wonder how much business went up in Barry because of that show.
Oh, honestly, loads. This is true. Barry used to be a dump. And
don't say that, Kev.
It did, and worse than that, I think. But it was, they've spent a lot of money on it. It looks really good now. They've got, Marco's Bar and everything like that actually exists. It's a real place, always was. And they've got like all of the Barry Bados logos and all that. And they've got, put a load of investment into the waterfront area. It's really, really nice there. Got to say, really nice now.
For anybody that's not seen Gavin and Stacey, you're thinking, what are they talking about? It's a sitcom in the UK. And it's very, very funny. I don't think there's a bad character or a character in it where you think is weak. Every single character's got something about them. My favourite, Kev, Uncle Bryn. Right. Come on then. We've got to do some questions. Oh, we have a book as well, which we'll do in a while. So, questions. Are you going to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to start with John Lancaster. And the reason I'm going to start with John is because I did my little randomness thing. And John is the winner of the Lowa boots.
Oh, I think we need, can we have some sort of, I'll tell you what, we've got to have a fanfare. Oh, that's just a ship's horn. I haven't really got a fanfare sound effect, Kev. That'll have to do.
Okay. Well, anyway, John, well done. We had loads of people actually saying I'm from the UK, which is great. So the exercise worked. Next time we can do a giveaway, then we know that we can do that, and maybe we'll do something for people in North America or Australia or something.
In the meantime, though, well done, John Lancaster.
Well done, and I will message you directly, John, to figure out all of the ins and outs of that. But his question is, hi both. I use an XT5 and an XT32. i.e. 1.1. It's very complicated, these things. Mm-hmm. Like I just, sorry to interject. I've been working with the GFX 102 thing, Jiggy. I had it on rental. It's gone back now. And it's very, when you read things out, like XT30 It sounds like XT32.
It does.
XT30II. We used to have.
This is where we're going back into VI, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to have a history teacher when I was a kid. Mr. Lawrenson, his name was. And he used to drift into like some kind of coma when he was dictating work to us. So he'd say things like, and the German army invaded in 1940. And you'd write it down, and then he'd go, 3. You'd hate Tipex, he'd hate scrubbing out and everything. You'd be like, oh, God. Anyway, sorry.
God, Kev, does that date you or what? Tipex? Who uses Tipex now?
I used to write on the walls of Tipex. Hi, both. I use an XT5 and XT30 Mark II, which is a recent addition and a replacement for the one I sold to part fund, the XT5. The lenses I use are the f2.23mm and 35mm, along with the 18 to 55 in brackets, which works great with the XT5, by the way. I love a bit of street photography, mainly around Liverpool, but my main love is getting out into the hills of the Lake District and photographing the wonderful vistas and the tops of the Wainwright Hills. Not for profit, just for pleasure. This is something I do throughout the seasons. Anyway, it's a gear question, and I apologise in advance. It's always about gear, isn't it? As winter is approaching. Could you recommend a good pair of boots? I'm from the UK, so they need to cope with our weather.
Oh,
is there a question in there?
No, he was going for the boots. Could you recommend a good pair of boots? Is not a question. That's an appeal for winning the competition, which is done, Kev.
Well, there you go. That proves how honest I was with my randomness, because I just went for all the people who said they're in the UK without reading the questions first and randomised it. Yeah. And John didn't even ask a question, but I don't suppose it really matters.
Well, he did. He sort of technically he did ask a question, so he's allowed. So we're allowed to make a demand as well. You have to take a picture of your boots on one of those Wainwright walks. There we go. Fair deal. What do you think? Deal on that one, Kev? Deal or no?
Yes. Yes, very good deal.
Perfect. Right, you've won the boots. Congratulations. Cue the song.
Well
do you want to do another question that's actually a photo question, a technical question, or shall I?
Yes. Why not? Why not? Indeed. Okay. Tim's store. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Neil. I'm UK based. I might stop reading out that I'm UK based bits from now on, with apologies. And wonder if you have any tips for making Instagram work for someone like me who just wants to get their images out to a wider audience. I'm not a professional and I'm not looking to get clients' business from it, but would like an outlet for my images that means that more than my immediate family see what I've been creating. I've just started a new Instagram account. Well, here we go. This is a way of getting some listeners, some eyes, whatever it is, which is Mad4Mono, MAD 4 Mono.
Let me look it up while you're talking, Kev.
But I'm hopeless with social media, and it just seems as though I get very few views, likes, or anything much. I'm trying to post daily, but views seem to be going down rather than growing. Any hints and tips? There we go.
Well, the first one I think would be, don't do it for the likes. But that sort of flies in the face of why you're doing it, doesn't it? Because you're doing it for for being recognised. I'm looking for Mad4Mono. Is it Mad hyphen
no,
underscore?
Mad4Mono, all one word with the number mono. Well, sorry, the number 4.
Number 4. Oh, number 4. Mad4Mono. Right, okay. So, right, Tim's store, found it now. Followed by Kev. Right, I follow it as well, so it's gone from 45 to 46 followers. So, yeah, it's gone up a bit. I always think social media is something that grows, Kev, as you do more. If you don't do it starting out to think, right, this needs to reach a certain amount of eyes, because it doesn't need to. You already said it's not for business, it's for pleasure. And let it organically grow. It might take longer than it would have done in the very early days, because there's just so much to see, and the algorithm moves in mysterious ways these days, doesn't it, the Instagram one?
Yeah, I mean, it's ever changing, you're right. But I mean, immediately I'm looking at, I mean, the pictures are great. Really, really nice pictures. Yeah. I really like them, Tim. But, you know, we've said a million times on the podcast, or at least I have, that, you know, there are certain things that you absolutely should not do, not necessarily things you should not do. And number one is not hack the out of the hashtags.
Well, there are more hashtags than there is writing here.
Correct.
And I think at some stage, it will work stuff like that out. I've got a friend of mine that just puts one word, and that doesn't perform greatly. I think Instagram wants to see some engagement in terms of what you write as well. And also, you've got to interact with other people and engage, be part of the whole platform. Show Instagram that you're not there just to take, but you'll also do some giving too. That's what Instagram likes to see.
I don't agree with that, I've got to say. I have to say. But the other parts, definitely.
Why don't you agree with that? Because
So go into comment on other people's content because you want other people to comment on your content.
Well, no, it's a social media platform. So putting the social back in to social media.
Absolutely. Comment on people that you find organically and you want to comment on, but don't do it because you think the algorithm respects that. If people, I have lots of comments on my stuff. I don't go and check their content out. I just don't, and that's just the way it is. If the algorithm shows me their stuff in my feed because they've interacted with me and I like it, then I'll see it. But I don't go hunting it out. The number one thing, Tim, honestly, is drop all the hashtags, 3 or 4 hashtags maximum, put more content into the text, and just wait and see what happens. Interact with all of your replies, definitely.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
But it's a tricky one because you kind of, as you say, you're not using it professionally. You just want people to kind of get their eyes on it, and I would probably be using it as a kind of maybe as a magazine portfolio type thing. So embedding your Instagram posts into a web page somewhere, and then allowing people to kind of come to it from there. I don't know if you have a website. Let's have a look at the profile. Yeah, so there's no website link. No. But things like that, by the way, in the profile, it just says my world in black and white. And that doesn't give Instagram that much information. Try and get I think you've got something like 150 characters to work with there. If you can drop a link in as well, even if that's just to a Facebook profile or something else, then that gives Instagram more confidence in you. For sure. The other thing is that all of the images so far are single images, as I'm looking at anyway. Carousels will get you much higher traction. A carousel is multiple images up to 10. And those images can be up to 8 megabytes in size as well. So they can be reasonably good, high quality images. If you do those,
8 each.
8 each, yeah. Absolutely, 8. So a carousel of 10 images will automatically have more chance of getting traction than the individual images, but that might not work with the way you're shooting, the way you're delivering your images. I can't. I can see the 3 of the towers, the chimney stacks that might work well as a carousel. But equally they work well individually. So, that's entirely up to you. And the thing is, when you start thinking about this, right now, this is just somewhere for you to enjoy, to have your images and for people to potentially see it. And enjoyment is the important thing. When it becomes a chore and you start thinking, I haven't posted today, or, Kev said about too many hashtags, or I don't understand what carousel is, etc., then it becomes unenjoyable and you'll just stop doing it. So, find out ultimately in your head, you need to figure out what your objective is from this. Is your objective to have a place for you to have an archive of your work? Yeah,
but he's already said one of his objectives is to get this in front of more eyes. That's what he said.
For what reason, though? That's the point I'm saying. Right. Is it to sell prints? Is it just for the glory of the likes, which is that it should never be? What's the reason? That's the thing that I would try and establish first, Tim. But from a technical element of things, you need a better profile for sure. You need to start thinking about using carousels. You need to have more textual context to the images, and you need to use damn sight less hashtags.
Yeah. I spend quite a lot of time. For a while, I wasn't on Instagram much. I don't post as much as I should. I know that. I enjoy using Instagram perhaps more than I enjoy posting on it, which might seem weird when part of it is for my business. But that aside, I do look at a lot of stuff, and I'm always amazed by how many top quality photographers, reasonably good names in an industry, don't have a lot of followers and don't have a lot of likes or a lot of engagement in their posts. I'm always surprised by that. I look at projects and stuff and I think, why is this like the best kept secret on Instagram? I think the very nature of the platform has changed a lot, hasn't it, Kev, in that respect?
Yeah, I think it has changed over the years. You're right. Ultimately, people's frustrations with all of the social media, kind of adverts and recommended content and all that. I'm still extremely lucky, and I kind of whisper it now about Instagram. I don't get any adverts or any recommended posts or anything on Instagram. My feed is
never understood this. Yeah.
No, I've never understood it either. So I have a really good relationship with Instagram.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy it. You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, there are some people who are hugely talented that don't really have a big following on Instagram. And, it's true. It's definitely true now that the people that do the, what they call them, reels, the little videos,
they perform well. Yeah.
Instagram does kind of give them more. So, there are technical things to also remember. So, for example, the reels, little videos, you can upload those. And I think they can be up to 4 minutes long. But only reels that are less than 90 seconds will be shown to people other than your current followers. So, a lot of people are doing reels and, thinking that's the way forward and spending a minute or 2 minutes talking about themselves and what they had for breakfast and how good the fairy lights are at today's wedding. But actually, if it's longer than 90 seconds, kind of pointless because you're preaching to the converted already. So there are certain elements of it that are technical in terms of the reach, and the reels do, Instagram have finally, only recently though, really have finally kind of publicly said, yes, reels do have more reach than individual images. That was probably the case for a long time, but they never really said anything about it. But they've said it now, and I don't really go down that route. I occasionally do it when I've got a YouTube video. I do a little kind of 20-second look at my next video, but not really about the pictures. So you might want to think about that, Tim. I don't know, maybe do a 30-second face to camera, talk to the camera about your image as a reel and post the image as well, and see how you get on with that if you really want to push the boundaries. But simply putting one image online and hashtags, too many hashtags, not enough text,
not going to do it.
Nothing will change.
I guess you're saying carousel because it engages people for longer. Is that the reason why you're saying carousel? Because if you've got a multiple image post, then people are going to be scrolling through your images and not scrolling on to the next image from somebody else. That's what you mean about carousels, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, carousels, it's just a fact. Again, this is something that Instagram have openly say now, that carousels will have more likelihood, and they're very cautious with the words they use, but a greater likelihood of being displayed to more people than single images. They
like geotags as well, don't they, at the moment? I read something recently from Instagram House, that was suggesting you geotag your work. Now, that's particularly powerful for people who have local businesses, which I know this isn't. But geotagging, because a lot of this is landscape stuff, that could be another way to just tickle the ivories at Instagram House.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's doing that or not, really, because the geotagging is, you just type in the location, and you should also always type in the alt text as well for the Instagram stuff. I'm kind of seeing that as a red thing. Maybe he's doing it, maybe he's not. I don't know, but that's on the interface. So I'm assuming that everybody who does this stuff and wants more views do that kind of thing. Right. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You should definitely do the geotag and the alt text.
Yeah.
But I just don't make it a chore. Idea of having to post every day and the scheduling it, and I haven't done a reel, I haven't done a post. Just do it when you've got something to say. And honestly, I've stood by this mantra for decades and decades, ever since SEO was a thing. The more honest and organic you are and natural, the better it will be liked. As soon as you become a machine and you start using scheduling tools and you start using automated alt text and hashtags,
no, it doesn't like that, does it?
They're cleverer than us. The algorithm, the people that write the algorithm are far cleverer than us. So you can't beat it. You can't get around it. There's no point fighting it. Just be yourself. Be honest. And it's the same as anything, isn't it? It's like being in a party. If you're at a party and you're trying too hard, and people can see through that. If you're at a party and you just sat in the corner drinking Thatcher's cider, you'll attract people who want to sit in the corner with you and drink Thatcher's cider.
No, they won't. They'll look at you in the corner and think, God, I'm not him.
That's where I'll be, by the way, in the corner.
Right. Dear Kev, dear Neil, recently my 4-year-old XT4 has started to regularly flash up an error message, turn the camera off and then on again. It happens with different lenses mounted on the camera, both those made by Fujifilm and third party, like Viltrox. It's a pain because it's sometimes meant I've missed a shot in the time it takes to restart the camera. Do you know why it might be doing this, and whether there are any easy fixes? One thing I've seen mentioned is cleaning the electrical lens mount contacts. Many thanks, Will Collin. I do regularly clean my electrical lens mount contacts. This is probably why I like Uncle Bryn in Gavin and Stacey. You could just imagine Uncle Bryn at his table on that street with all his lenses, with a cotton bud, with a bit of white spirit, just gently cleaning the contacts. So I've done that, and I've never had that problem. So maybe it does make a difference. But what do you think, Kev? You're going to say no, it's not electrical lens mount contacts.
No, it could well be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be one of the things I'd look at. I've never cleaned mine, and I've never really. I mean, I've had the camera, some like brand new versions of I think it was the XT3, or it might be the XT4. I can't remember. But there was, in the very first release, was a firmware bug where it would occasionally say turn the camera on and off again. So first of all, the first thing I would suggest is make sure that your firmware for both your camera and the lenses you have are up to date, and that might well simply fix the problem. Absolutely, the lens connections could well need a clean. I've never done it myself, but I presume they do that when I've sent my cameras to House of Photography.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah.
They do all that. The other thing is, it could well be, again, I don't know, we haven't got the details. It could well be, the battery might be discharging or mischarging. So maybe just check that. Could be the memory card, corruption, too slow. I don't know. Or it could just be a proper hardware failure. In which case, you send it off to House of Photography and they will look at it for you. But in the first instance, firmware updates, definitely double check all of that kind of stuff.
Interesting about the speed of cards. It's a while since this happened, and I think most people now have got very, very fast cards. The price of cards has come down so much, particularly SD cards, that there's no reason why you'd have a slow card anymore. But I remember that being a problem with stuff like this, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, I am going to say firmware, if it's an XT4 and it's firmware, you would be amazed how many people do not update their firmware from the first release. And, whilst I understand some people's reticence in updating to the very latest firmware immediately, i.e. after it's been released, I often advise people to wait, 3 or 4 weeks after the firmware is updated. But, the XT4 has got a very stable firmware history now, so I would be double checking that.
Yeah. Very safe to update your firmware on that one. When you talk about the kit and how you keep it, Kev, that's what I was looking forward to seeing today. I was coming to look into the cupboard. I had Echo all sorted for it. It was almost like going into Santa's magic sack that he has. Which is huge, as big as the world, all the presents in it. It's like a TARDIS. And I was thinking, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to climb inside Kevin's cupboard of doom and look at the state of the gear in there, and hopefully nick some stuff while we're about it. Right. Do you want to do another one before we do the book? Okay.
So we got one here from Joachim Sintron. Remember him? Remember we were having a conversation about the name.
Joachim, yeah.
Joachim. Hey dudes. Joaquin, he says, should I change my name to Phoenix? I've been getting into event photography more lately and trying to improve myself. I always hear that event and wedding photographers should be as invisible as possible when working. But as a large caramel-coloured man in a predominantly pale region, it's hard for me to feel invisible pretty much anywhere, anytime. I understand being invisible isn't necessarily about appearance, though. So I was wondering if you had any tips for being as invisible and unobtrusive as possible when shooting. Thanks as always, and have an awesome week.
An awesome week. First of all, if we take events, I did an event recently, actually. You can't be invisible when you're doing... When the event is rolling and one of your jobs is, after each award is presented, your job is to pop in there, get the grip and grin, move out again, and the dance continues with the next award. Your speed, your professionalism in that respect makes a huge amount of difference. I don't subscribe to this thing that says we need to be invisible. No, if the invisibility cloak was available, Kev, would we have made great money in photojournalistic work, in whatever genre? It's more about how you act. I always remember this from conversations with my friend Giles, who was a superb army photographer and worked in a photojournalistic style. across the board for much of his work in Northern Ireland, Bosnia, Iraq, and so on and so forth. And he would always say it's and he's a 6 foot. Is he 6'4"? I'm looking in the air as I do it, Kev.
He's a big bloke.
He certainly would stand above us, wouldn't he? Probably two of us, Kev, and there'd still be a little bit of room left. And he would always say, it's not about being invisible. It's about how you act, how you move amongst things. I use the analogy, the football analogy of Messi, Lionel Messi. Bear with me on this one. If you watch Lionel Messi play, he doesn't run around like a headless chicken. He walks, for a lot of the match, he walks. And then he just moves a bit more quickly when he needs to, gets that, and then he's back into a nice flow again. And I've always thought that as an analogy is quite a good one. Everybody had... I'm sorry if your name is Barry, but you must have worked with Barrys, videographers called Barry. They were always called Barry, Kev, and they would run. They were like Jack Russells at weddings. They would run for the entire day, and I think at the end of it, God, you look exhausted, and I think the people that you're filming look exhausted from you running around them all day long. It's a case of how you act, isn't it, Kev?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah, you can't be invisible, and it doesn't matter, whether you're short like me, really tall like Giles, or, whatever. It makes no difference, really. It is the way you behave, and, the thing that I always encourage people to think about is integrity rather than invisibility. And if your presence is affecting a moment by you being there, then it's time to reevaluate. I shoot quicker, move on, think about perspective, light angles, whatever direction. But yeah, it's not about actually not being visible. I would say to my wedding clients that I do my best to blend in as much as possible, i.e. I dress like a guest, I behave like a guest, I use small cameras. And when I say behave like a guest, doesn't mean I get walloped and, snog the grandmother at 11 o'clock at night. But what I mean is, I'm in the same places as them. I'm not standing on the side with a 200mm lens, looking like the paparazzi photographer. Yeah. I'm in with them. I'm one of them. I'm using small cameras. I'm being like a guest, and so I'm giving them pictures from a guest's eye point of view. And I think that's where the invisibility element comes into it. And, it's good. A lot of my clients used to, when I got my feedback, were like, we really just did not notice you for most of the day. And obviously you can't do that for, with the ceremony. And if it's an event and you're on a stage and you're the event photographer, then, you just can't be. So don't worry about that.
But there's an element of expectation as well. People expect you to be there. This idea that you've got to blend in with the upright Hoover, you don't need to. They expect you to be there. It's not. I always thought this was a bit odd when vicars or priests or celebrants would say, "I don't want anybody looking at you. This is about them." And I said, "Of course, it's about them. Nobody's going to be looking at me. Yeah, they'll see me there with a lens, but they're not interested in me. They're interested in the couple." You'll have far more trouble with a kid that's coughing for the entire service than you ever will with me.
Yes, you're 100% right, and definitely people like you, people like me, and a lot of them. But there are some photographers out there that muddy the waters for everybody, and that's why the vicars say these things. It's not a personal attack on you or me. It's an attack on the industry and I've seen it. I've been to weddings as guests where the photographer has made me embarrassed to be a wedding photographer. They exist. They do exist. They're out there, and they all come from Merthyr Tydfil.
You and Merthyr. Do we have any listeners in Merthyr, do you think? Or have you frightened them off across the years? Right, come on, let's do the book. What's the book?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the book. And I'm really excited by this. I love it. I really enjoy it. So I do need to read it out because it needs to be making sense, really. So Kenny Gordon, sorry. Dear N and K. We're a brand now, Neil. N and K.
Can you see high street shops? N and K.
Yeah, I can see that. Just a little logo above a door. And inside, I don't know.
What would we sell?
Yeah, mankinis. We could do N&K mankinis.
Mankinis. Oh, Kev, I'm not sure the world's ready for that.
No, let's move on. Dear N&K, massive fan of the show. Keeps me going on the drive to work. Very inspirational and makes me want to get out and shoot. That's good. Well done. I just wanted to send a publication that I had a privilege of being featured in. The publication is from a company called Lowa, which features photographers capturing documentary images of the fans at football all over the world. It focuses on the football culture, lifestyle, and also architecture of stadiums. It's run by a really good guy called Matt Lidbury, who uses his vast experience in publishing to pull together the photos in a lovely zine.
Oh, nice. They exist, Kev.
I was lucky enough to be featured last year with my photos from Glasgow Rangers winning their 55th league title in May 2021. I captured the scenes and celebrations. My favourite photo is the one of the fan that climbed up the lamppost to celebrate what the police line looked on. Ultimately, so we will talk about the pictures, but really we do need to give a shout out to Lowa Block. That's the whole point of this, because they are doing good stuff for football fans and zines. If you love zines, Lowa Block, we will link to them obviously. And the book, the little I actually thought when it first came in the post, I thought it was a football program from a matchday program. So it kind of has that size to it. And yeah, some amazing pictures in here from Kenny. You know, I would say that some of these pictures are from the ultra fans. You know what the ultra fans are. So for example, there's no real page numbers, but one of the spreads here I've just opened up is a great shot of the street is absolutely packed. Obviously, bear in mind that Rangers have just won their 55th league title at this point. There are people with bottles of champagne, bottles of whiskey, all kinds of things, and there's 3 people carrying a green coffin down the streets.
Oh, right, okay.
Which I'm guessing is alluding to Celtic, the other team in Glasgow. Of course, big rivalries there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, real kind of gritty pictures here, and that picture that that he talks about with the guy at the lamppost with the police line coming. Yeah, amazing. It's hard to explain these pictures without you seeing them as well. Some of them are just kind of very candid street portraits of people wearing the shirts and stuff. Now, I know this shirt very well, and that year's shirt, because Albie has when he collects football shirts. Yeah, there's a thing he goes on, I don't know what it's called, random football shirts or something. And it's really cheap. It's like €20, but you get a random shirt from somewhere around the world. You know, official shirt, but a random one. One of the ones he got was Rangers. So he's got that one, and it's great. I've experienced things like this. You know, I've experienced this kind of environment, not so much with football, but with rugby. You know, like when Wales have won Grand Slams and various things like that. So I've kind of been in the melee of a really excitable crowd outside of a stadium. So I can kind of, I get almost like a tactile feel to the excitement of the people here and the emotion. But you definitely also get an element of, my God, there must have been some headaches the next day. You know, that's it. And that guy up the lamppost, though, you know, stood there with his arm wrapped. He must be 30 feet up. He's got his arm wrapped around the lamppost. He's looking directly at Kenny, it seems. I don't know whether that's just perspective. Yeah. He's got the Ibrox flags around him, loads of people underneath cheering. It's just a really, really well executed book of amazing pictures that, and if you're into football, and especially if you're a Rangers fan, then you know you're gonna love this. So ultimately, Lowa Block is the publisher of this stuff, so you can go to lowablock.com, and I'm guessing you can pick up other photographers' works from other football clubs as well. But I love it. Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to take a good hard look at Lowa Block and see if there's some Arsenal stuff that I can get for Albie for Christmas.
Have you not got his Christmas present yet, Kev?
No.
Right. Well, everybody knows that somebody else brings it anyway, so don't panic too much. Yes. When I arrived at, it's almost a year ago in West Africa, almost this time last year, the Africa Cup of Nations was on. And as I was going from the airport to where I was staying, I asked the guy, please stop, please stop. Because it was one of those moments where I thought, this is just the best photo. That particular night, the Gambia were playing, was it Ghana? I can't remember who they were playing now, but it was a big match. And they were all this particular street or this town where I was. It's almost like everybody had descended upon these couple of bars where you had a big telly and everybody was sitting outside because it was so warm, Kev. So nobody was inside. They were all outside, the big telly there. And it was just a sea of faces. I could see a sea of faces looking at these big television screens. No other light, no other illumination, just these tellies. And I thought, this is that's the sort of shot you're talking about. That's the sort of photograph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you take the picture?
No, he wouldn't stop.
I see. Yeah.
No, I said, go on, please, stop. He said, no, we've got to be there. And I know, just passed by and I thought that would have been, right at the start of the year, probably one of my favourite pictures, I've no doubt at all. But that sounds like a great book. I love football books.
It is, and I will forgive it for being a zine in this case, because I really like it. Very nice.
Right, do we have time for, let's do a bonus question, Kev, because it's the last one before Crimbles and New Year, and then we've got a bit of a break before we come back. So shall I do one from email?
Why not?
From email. Okay. You'll like this one. It's from Chuck Bennorth. I thoroughly enjoy listening to your conversations. I learn a lot from them. My question is, what defines a strong black and white image relative to the contrast, shading and stuff? I see plenty of YouTube posts on how to edit to black and white, but I'm trying to better understand the goal of the shooting and editing, particularly relative to portraits. Thanks for your thoughts, from Chuck. I love a good contrasty black and white. I don't like a salad of grey. I like something to have a bit of bite and some edge. That's probably why I love so much Sebastião Salgado's work. I mean, if you ever want good bitey without it being crushed on in terms of crushed blacks or something, if you ever want something that really shows you a contrasty, moody, grippy image, then go no further than that photographer. That's for sure. But what do you like, Kev? What defines a good black and white for you?
I think for me, I definitely agree with everything you just said there. From a technical point of view, a good black and white needs black and white. So i.e. it needs light and shade. An image that doesn't have much light coming into it will not make a good black and white. Well, probably won't make a good black and white. So you need light, you need contrast, and you need shade. That's the principles of it. However, I think, ultimately it just comes down to an emotion. Like you look at some of the Linda McCartney shots of the Beatles that are taken, backs of cars and things, and there's not great light. There's not a great contrast in those images, but the emotion and the moment overrides it, and would definitely looks better in black and white than they would in color because of the moment, and it's driving your mind and to think about that moment in time. Yeah. So there's that element of it, but from a technical point of view, Salgado was the master of it. He'd find places in the Amazon and the jungles and all places around the world where actually he would hunt these places down and look for points where there was light, light and dark. A good black and white needs light and dark. It's simple as that. And especially if it's going to be printed, and that's why that's why I always preach about using spot metering and stuff like that in the cameras to try and help you with that. And when you're shooting candidly, at least, and a good studio black and white starts with well thought out lighting. It's a real challenge, and when it's done well, it's done. It has to be done very well. And so, if you, it's even if you're taking a picture with your phone, simple as that. If you're sat in the kitchen and people, our parents or my parents and your Sam and the kids and all that kind of stuff, we don't really think about photography. When they're taking pictures with their phones, they don't think to say to people, oh, actually, can you just move so you're facing the window rather than with your back to the window? And if they did think about that, then those pictures would make much better black and whites, but they don't. And that's fine. Of course, why should they? But that's the principle. The light has to start with the thought process of the light.
I take my hat off to the great black and white photographers who did this with film, who weren't looking at a Lightroom opportunity to manipulate that feeling that we're talking about. If you get a chance, Kev, have you been to the Photographers Gallery of late?
Not for a while, although I'm in London tomorrow.
Oh, right. Can
very bizarre reasons.
Right.
I might go. Yeah.
Well, if you have a chance, when I went, I thought, I know who would love this. Kev would love this. Letitia, I think it's Battaglia is the way you pronounce her name. Italian photographer. Life, Love and Death in Sicily. So if you're not in the UK, I apologise, but it's worth looking up her work, and we'll put a link on the show page. Born in Palermo, Sicily, 1935, she began her photographic career in the early 70s. Stay with me, because when I say what it's about, you're going to say, ooh, when she was in her 40s, this is. She documented everyday life alongside the brutal reality of the mafia and their victims in Sicily during the 70s, 80s and early 90s. Her images are some of the best-known records of life in the shadow of the mafia. So it's not all grim, Kev. A lot of this is about life just living alongside this period of history. In her relentless pursuit against organised crime, she used her camera to document the daily terror, putting it on the front page. She was present at every major crime scene, or at least one of her colleagues or her would be present at every single major crime scene in the city over 2 decades. Her work, Kev, is just extraordinary. I promise, if you go in, and the way it's hung, this whole you walk through the pictures, you'll understand when you go there. You will absolutely love it, Kev. It's a definite visit. And the thing I found amazing, not just her photographs, but she refused to have bodyguards, even though she had regular threats of death. Never had a bodyguard in her life. Incredible. And her work does everything you've just talked about in terms of black and white. It's beautiful work. I say beautiful, that's an odd word to use actually for what is sometimes quite grim, yes.
Yeah, I might. If we get a chance, I'll swing by there tomorrow. Yeah. I'm not sure what the plans, but I might.
Well, it's on till the end of Feb.
Oh, I'll definitely be back before then. So
yeah, definitely.
100% see it.
Right, well, that is it, Kev, for 2024. We've done it. We got there. Lurgies even. Do you want to have a good cough now? You okay?
I've been pressing the mute button every time I've had them come in. Cutting eggs, probably.
Well, I have missed coming to see the Cupboard of Doom.
Yeah. We'll do a special episode in January or something. Maybe.
Special Cupboard of Doom episode. I've also missed, for the second year in a row, possibly the third, the famous mince pies, Kev, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Who are we thanking for them?
I've forgotten.
Oh, Kev, I thought you had them to yourself.
I've got them. Hang on. Oh, no, it's Pascal. Yes, it's Pascal. Pascal, of course. You're from Northern Ireland. He sent us mince pies this year. 6 of them. Pascal, next year, please send them to Neil.
No, I think Kev needs them more than me, I think. Right. Well, that's it. Pascal, thank you for them. I'm enjoying them from afar. We will see you in the new year, 2025, Kev. How about that, eh? How about that? Right, have a lovely Christmas, Kev. Love to your family.
Yeah, you too.
I'm hoping they'll recover. Well, I'm sure they will. They've got a few more. They've got a week yet, Kev. A week to go yet. So love to the family, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye, Kev. Bye. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.